This is going to be a video log of my build of the Bandai Snowspeeder kit. This is a great little kit. I've already done a little bit of work on this, so in this first video I'll just show you where I'm up to. But yeah, I'm going to keep you up to date with this. So we'll just have a look at this kit in this video, and you can kind of see what's inside and what I've been doing there. So you got the instructions, standard kind of stuff with Bandai. Pretty easy to put together. I searched the net and found a site that actually has English translations of these, which are useful if you want to get really precise with the paints. That'll tell you what they are, but otherwise, you know, it's pretty obvious what's going on. And you've got all these kind of references for where the decals go, paint jobs, etc. Decals, sticker versions. I'm going to use these. I'm going to come to these later. I know from watching another series that I think, is it Tagamo Modelworks does. I know he didn't like these decals that go in the cockpit. But yeah, I'm still going to give it a go. I really don't fancy taking on trying to paint that manually myself. I don't believe I have that skill level yet, so I'm hoping these decals will kind of look okay for me. We'll see. We'll see. Then the kit, I'll just kind of get these bits up. So let me kind of walk you through what I've done, because it's all off the sprue. This has been primed. Before I primed it, I actually went over all the panel lining with a Gundam marker. So what I'm trying to avoid is I don't actually want to do pre-shading on this. So what I'm hoping the effect I'm going to kind of achieve, and I can kind of see it's hopefully going to work, is to have more of a sort of subtle shading around the panel lining, where, you know, I put this stuff on and then just putting the coat of primer on has just dulled it off. So it's got a very light primer coat on it. So once I airbrush the main paint application over it, I'm hoping it just takes that panel lining down. So you're kind of aware it's there, but it's not quite as obvious as it is at the moment. And I think that's going to give a nice depth effect without the panel lining being, you know, too obvious, which I don't know. I don't like it when the panel lining's sort of too dark and obvious on some of these models, because, you know, in real life they wouldn't be like that. So there's the main hull. Would you call it hull? That little grey bit I've put on. Maybe I should have painted that separately first. That might be a bit of a masking nightmare. But there we go. Base, I've given that one little coat of black for where the cockpit will sit. So obviously that will clip on there when I'm ready to do a build. And I've given the bottom the same kind of treatment with the panel lining, as you can see. Cockpit. So yeah, I prime this with Tamiya, just their surface spray, their grey surface spray, which you can see is pretty much identical in colour to the actual colour of the plastic, possibly a little bit darker, but it's a really nice shade. Not that that'll matter when it's got its paint job on it. So what else we got? Base, haven't done anything to that. The sort of stemmer of the base, painted it black. No idea why I did this. I'm going to take all this off, so I'm going to dunk this in something to strip all that paint off and do this again. I was having a moment of minor madness when I did this, so ignore that. And then I've done a few kind of little sub-assemblies. So the front of the where the firing cannons are, these parts that will sit on there, they're actually in 4 pieces. So there's this internal kind of dark grey part, which I guess is for folks who would not want to show that cover and show the sort of engine detail as an option. I don't want to do that. I want it covered up. So that's what it looks like without that cover on it. So that'll go in there, but I'm going to glue that on. But I'm going to paint all these parts separately before I assemble the kind of cannon and the engines at the back. So the engine sections, that one would go that side, and I've got the same for the other side. These I've already done a little bit of work on, so again, these are kind of similar builds where they're in 4 parts with the central part and then the sides. And I've done a little bit of detailing here. So I prime that with just this Vallejo black surface primer. Then I dry brushed it with this Model Air Medium Sea Grey, I think, to start with. And then I dry brushed it again with either, and forgive me, I can't remember which, I either dry brushed it with the chrome or the aluminium. I can't quite remember. And I'm reasonably happy with how that's turned out. Reasonably happy. Let me get it in focus. And I've started adding a little bit of detail, so I've got a little red dot there, and I'll probably do a couple of other things with some gold and other colours. And then I'll come in again and do a wash on it when I've done all the paint jobs on everything else. Edges are still messy, as you can see. I'm going to fix that up later. And then the flaps that kind of attach with this, you've got 2 options. You can go with it completely sealed, like that, or you've got the flaps that kind of come up. Oh, I've got it the wrong way around. Like so. And I think I'm going to go with it like that. I painted the interior of that flat black, but I might change that. I've actually got a really, really good reference for the model they used in the film in one of the books I've got, which shows sort of the various details of the colour and things. So I'm going to follow that to some extent, but things like this where you can get some nice kind of detail in the engine, I'm going to stick with that. The back part of the engine, I've given that a coat already of black. And then the cockpit sections, I've primed these and just done a similar kind of dry brush to the engine parts, but I'm not that happy with this. I didn't do too great a job of that. If you look at that part, you can see there's paintbrush streaks, which is pretty rubbish. So I might paint over it, or I might strip it, do it again, because they're not that great. But I don't know. I'll have the cockpit sealed, and with the decals on, it might not look too bad. It might not look too bad, but yeah, it's certainly something needs to happen. Then there's all the parts like the main firing cannons and back of the engine. So I'm going to paint all these separately and weather them. Well, do a kind of pre-weathering, maybe a wash, then assemble it all, and then do more weathering. Seat again, that's already painted with black. I'm not sure what I'm going to do to that. The back seat where the firing cannon is, I've done a little bit of a coat in there with aluminium. It's going to need a second coat. Things like the cable at the back, rest of the engine parts, that big fin at the back, which that radiator will sit on. So yeah, it's all sort of laying in pieces, but a lot of it's had a kind of level of preparing. But yeah, I'm just waiting on my airbrush to arrive before I can start on this in earnest. And then, yeah, we should be making some good progress. So the other thing with this, the last part, is the pilots, which I made a complete mess of. So I tried to paint these by hand and just messed it up. Did prime them with the Vallejo black, and then, yeah, just a terrible choice without an airbrush, because what I wanted to do was a similar thing that the guy from Tagamo Model Works did, where he airbrushed them with black as a prime and then airbrush grey and then put colours over the top of them, but trying to do that with hand paints, yeah, it just didn't work out. So I've stripped those, and then yeah, I'm just going to wait till the airbrush turns up and do these again. So that's how it's looking at the moment. This is a great kit. I mean, it's just the feel of this thing is just beautiful. I'm really excited about getting this going and seeing what it looks like. So there we go, introductory video. Hopefully things will look a little bit better in the next part. See you then.